Okay, here we go. I hope everything works out. I hope that the stream is playing and everyone can hear it and everything's jiving. I did have an update to Streamlabs and that sort of bonked a few settings and parameters. I'm still playing around with it, but I can't get chat working, so I do apologize if I can't see that on the screen. But it is going to be on the YouTube window, so that will work. Thank you for everyone for joining. This is Kingdom Hearts Smudcast. I don't know.
This is Smudtalk number 43.
Yes, number 43. And we're going to be asking some questions in regards to Kingdom Hearts for all the fans here. I'm not a personal fan. I have played the game, the original game, 20 or so years ago, and it was fun. It was great. It was a simple experience. Now, I didn't play it that long to know what it became, and there's about a dozen or so games out there now.
There are. Hold on, I'm trying to count all the different games. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14. 14
we know for a fact.
Drop.
Yeah, at least three numbered out right now. Soon to be 4 if we get any damn news on it.
Right. So, over a dozen games. The chronology is hard to follow. The plots are hard to follow. What the heck is going on is every game sort of resets stuff and changes the outlook on what is actually going on. So, I never got into that. But I'm sure you guys can explain some of the stuff to me with some of the questions I'll be asking. So, yes, the questions will be a bit esoteric. And that's okay, because that's why we're here. We're here to talk about specifics and why the game is so attractive to some. So I'm going to have 10 random questions, and you guys can answer them one at a time, or I think just one per person, because they're going to be varied, unless someone wants to jump in because they have more knowledge. That's totally fair too. But these are very specific questions, and you guys can share your thoughts on what they mean and, what exactly is going on, because a lot of these games are hard to follow. And they're fun enough to get into, but trying to understand them is another story. So, here we go. Question number 1. Some fans appreciate what's called flashy attractions in Kingdom Hearts 3, while others find them disruptive. What is your opinion, Gigaman, on the attractions?
Honestly, it's at least a unique gimmick in Kingdom Hearts 3. It's something... At least it's an interesting idea to tackle in terms of the legacy of not only the series itself, but also one half of it, which is Disney. And they were able to spice up the core gameplay with that, be able to let you have access to those different kinds of attacks to dish out the pain.
Now, are attractions a random event that you get a certain enemy and you hit them a certain way and they pop up, and then all of a sudden you could trigger them, or is it just like they're in a set plane throughout the games that, okay, this scenario will have an attraction, that scenario will have an attraction, and it'll just follow a linear path?
Well, no, they're well, go ahead and explain that part of the gameplay through.
Well, in the case of the attraction flow, if I remember correctly, it's either based on certain enemies you're attacking or the world you're in, because different enemies sometimes will trigger it when you're fighting them. But that all depends if you don't have a specific ability that they added in an update later to turn them off in exchange for something else.
Yeah, it was more attack power is the trade-off.
Yeah.
And it is based on the enemies that you're attacking. Like if you're attacking a what's the water?
The water
or ice?
board.
Yeah, the water.
Yeah.
You'll tend to get the pirate ship, which uses water-based attacks.
Either that or Flash Mountain.
Yeah.
So would you consider it a good element of the story or the game? Like, what is the the benefit of these flashy attraction things?
Well, the main thing is they are overpowered at all get out. To the point, the thing is, they are very powerful, but they also take up a lot of time. And it's ultimately like a flow breaker for some people, which is why some people don't like it. Because, enemy can't really fight back against it, but you also have to put in a commitment to the attraction flow. And, it'll make something a complete joke, like, especially if they happen during boss fight. Because when you're in the attraction flow, you're practically invincible.
And there's a couple there's also a couple times where it's part of the story to use them, and it's both the same attraction, which is like the choo-choo train, where you at the start of the game against the Rock Titan from Hercules, and then at the end of the game, we're just fighting a massive horde of all of the game's basic enemies near the end.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
It's the game's 5 years old?
Yeah.
5 now. Yeah, it just had its 5th anniversary back in January, and then the entire series had its 22nd anniversary yesterday.
Yes. What a sign.
We picked a good time to have this.
Yep.
But with attraction flows, it also comes down to they're really good for crowd control, but like Keyblade said, you have to commit to the attractions to actually get use out of them.
Yeah. Ultimately, like first playthrough you do for Kingdom Hearts 3, I would definitely say use them, so you can see what they're like and also fill out the respective journal things regarding it. But later playthrough, if you find that it's just a little too interruptive for you, you can just use the special abilities that turn them off in exchange for like power or whatever.
Okay, it sounds like an interesting thing to stumble upon while you're fighting a boss or anything else. Okay, interesting. I have never encountered this, so I don't know the differences. But here's question number 2, and this is in regards to the DS game 358 divided by 2 days. Is it a captivating movie with an interesting story, or is it a repetitive game that overshadows its story?
That one is actually kind of difficult to answer because the gameplay and the way of making decks of how you level up, what abilities you can take into combat, and what items you take into combat are core to the gameplay. And you need to think about what you're going into because you'll be given a mission heads up about what enemies will be there, aside from the boss, because you'll never know what the boss actually is until you get to that point.
This is it.
And
where's Kairi?
The gameplay is somewhat simple. It plays similar to Birth by Sleep because it takes Birth by Sleep is a finishing of the command decks and what basically is the final form of the command decks 358 and Chain of Memories.
I would say the gameplay of Days is more very simplified Kingdom Hearts 2 with prototype command deck style from Birth by Sleep onward.
Yeah, but I don't think it overshadows the story. It can get repetitive, and it is recommended to do 1 or 2 missions per day and continue from that point. That way you can recall what actually happened throughout the story. Otherwise, you're just going to burn yourself out.
I have seen a couple of videos actually where people actually have stated that the more repetitive gameplay of Dade feeling like actual work actually make the story feel more meaningful because of the fact that you pretty much are in Rocket, Axel, and Shion's shoes. That you're pretty much just doing work for the organization, and your reward is the cutscene telling the tragic story, and pretty much your cutscenes on the clock tower where they're eating the sea salt ice cream. That's pretty much their break after work, and that's pretty much your break after the work of the gameplay, more or less. And when it's just the movie, it doesn't feel as tugging to your heartstrings when it gets tragic, because you haven't experienced the actual mission like you do on the actual DS version.
Although, speaking as someone who did see the movie cut of it in the collection, it did just enough to get the point across in terms of how everything was written and structured.
Yeah, it definitely does get the point across. It just like some people say that having the gameplay there actually enhances it more.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So either way is a good way to experience it, but
All right.
Yeah, like Dolomite said, people going into 2 without playing 358 over 2 had they would have been confused, but the game did come out 4 years after, because Kingdom Hearts 2 released in 2005 and 358 released in 2009.
Actually, it came out in 2006.
Yeah, generally Kingdom Hearts 2 was 06.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 was 06 and 2009 for 358 Days Over 2. And yet that's how you pronounce the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that in the list of chronology of the game's releases in Japan and North America, or in the rest of the world. So yeah, that's kind of weird. You have to play a game after the fact that came out to understand the one that came prior. That's that's weird.
I think why they generally recommend. This is why they generally recommend, if you're going to get into the series, just play the games in release order.
I've been doing that for a while now.
Yeah.
Well,
except he played Dave before Rechain of Memory.
Yeah, because in that case, Days, watching the movie cut of Days actually gives you a benefit in Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's like whatever.
I'm not going to read any super chats till we get to the end, but thanks for those already. Let's keep going. This is more of a cosmetic thing. I don't know. People think it's more of a personality thing. Kairi's design and personality changed a lot in Kingdom Hearts 3. Do you guys prefer her spunky Kingdom Hearts 1 look and personality, or the cutesy anime version we see in Kingdom Hearts 3?
I don't think she really changed at all.
Oh.
She pretty much the same Kairi all throughout.
Yeah,
She still got a bit of sass to her, but she still got some cuteness to her.
Yeah, I've never really heard that complaint myself.
Nor have I. Yeah, Kairi's design is more matured as she's gotten older, because she's 17 by 3.
Yeah.
And then 18 whenever Melody Memory comes about.
Yeah, because that takes place during the year she goes into a coma to try to find Sora after the event of the Kingdom Hearts 3 ending.
So you're saying her personality didn't really change from Kingdom Hearts 2, 358, and then to Kingdom Hearts 3 final at the end. All the other games in between.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, her personality pretty much stayed the same. She was a little more sassy in the first game, but ultimately she still has the same general personality.
Yeah, she's just more matured in her actions and the way that she views things.
Yeah. And she is very much not happy about having to be away from Sora so much.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. I thought there was a big argument about her change, but that's good to know. Okay. The next question is, some people argue that Dream Drop Distance has the weakest plot in the Kingdom Hearts series. Why is that, if you agree? And how did that impact the story of Kingdom Hearts 3?
Well, clearly they are forgetting about Recoded. Because
which is the other DS game that's before the 3DS one.
yeah, because here's the thing, Dream Drop Distance is actually setting up it pretty much being the big setup game before Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to resolve a lot of plot points. Recoded is the game that just sets up Dream Drop Distance, and that's it. And it's like, and Recoded is said pretty much by everybody to have a very nothing story where like there's only like 2 or 3 things in it that are actually worth mentioning in future games.
Yeah, that, like, the things to mention in Coded are the opening scene of finally figuring out what happened with the journals.
Yeah.
Because they were erased, and that was because of Naminé.
And
Young Xehanort being in the datascape, and Data having hearts within themselves and considered living beings, and then 3 being the ending of, okay, so we know how this works now, because Coded also set up for Union Cross, or Unchained Key, the mobile game, where everybody inside,
yes. Yep.
where everybody was placed inside of a datascape, and then lost their hearts and became Chirithy.
Oh yeah.
And remember, Recoded is a DS remake of a originally Japanese-only mobile phone game.
But to say that Dream Drop Distance has the weakest story is kind of downplaying the significance of the
A lot of things in it.
Market Mastery that Sora and Riku had to go through. The fact that Riku was the only one to pass, kind of mirroring the fact that Terra, who is the 10 years prior basic version of Riku, where Terra had darkness in his heart, Riku had darkness in his heart, but Terra let it consume him rather than what happened with Riku, where he was able to control the darkness within his heart and find balance between light and dark.
Yeah.
And Dream Drop Distance is very much a Riku story. Especially considering the fact that it really delved into Sora and Riku's friendship and how far they go for each other. Especially for Riku.
It's kind of interesting because there's other games from Dream Drop Distance, like 1.5 Remix, Hearts X, and 2.5 Remix.
Well, the 1.5, 2.5, those are the collections of games that are already out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and 2.8.
That's all they are. They're collections.
Are they remasters? Do they change anything? Is there anything in between that gets altered?
They reinstated content that was originally Japanese exclusive.
Yeah, we finally got the
they're
final
pretty much
versions.
they're pretty much localization of the previously Japanese exclusive final mix versions of Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep.
Yeah, Final Mix themselves being enhanced re-releases with more content.
Yeah. Rechain of Memory would have been that if they didn't release the PS2 version in America as well.
Yeah, in that case, it's a full remake.
Yeah. And the big thing here with the 1.5 remake is that it's not a simple upscaled port job like the other games are. No. For Kingdom Hearts 1 specifically, they had to rebuild the game from scratch.
Yep.
Because they lost the source code.
Yeah. They had to go back and find the PS2 Final Mix release and then build the code off of that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's great. Let's go to our next question, and this is in regards to level design and exploration. And the topic is Tron, or the Tron world, called the Grid. It has a lot of criticisms thrown at it. Why is that the case? And do you think it gets it deserves that criticism because it's not so well liked compared to all the other levels throughout all the series?
I've really never heard that before, honestly.
I have not heard.
That's
I definitely
part-
haven't heard that in terms. I haven't really heard any complaint regarding level design in Dream Drop Distance. In the only complaint I've heard about the level design in Dream Drop Distance is the fact that flow motion makes any good platforming design just go out the window, and slow motion breaks everything pretty much.
Yeah, a mobility option that is way too good for its own sake.
Yeah.
But Tron in particular, I have never heard the complaint that it has issues. Like, part of the reason why I chose to highlight that world in this Smudtalk is because it's my favorite world in the entire franchise.
Yeah, and
Mine ain't the Winnie the Pooh world, but
That's a whole other thing.
the grid in Dream Drop is based on the sequel.
Tron Legacy.
Yeah, and the only complaint that I can find with the grid in Dream Drop is that it is more linear than in 2.
And Space Paranoids.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's pretty much get to the end, do all the little mini quests within, and then you're done.
Part of it is also being not only a handheld game, but also being split between two characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to Space Paranoids here, based on the original Tron film, which got the full attention of the developers because it was just the one adventure. And to the point where even in this game, it's split between 2 different visits, but each visit is a full, session in its own right through the world.
Yeah.
It seems to be interesting because a lot of people seem to like the story, while the people who dislike the story prefer the gameplay, and vice versa. Is this like you either sit in one of two camps, or can you enjoy both? Like, what's going on?
I am definitely somebody who enjoyed both. This kind of goes into the whole idea of the story being complicated, which here's my hot take on it. This story is not really that complicated. It's just that people don't want to pay more attention than they have to.
That's not necessarily everyone that says it, but there are plenty of examples that do fit under that.
Yeah.
And with I'm also of the camp that I enjoyed the gameplay and the story.
Yeah.
Story more so because there are ways of breaking the gameplay to make it really, really simple.
Yeah.
Especially with Birth by Sleep. But
pretty much every Kingdom Hearts game, there is something that will snap the game in half.
Damn it.
yeah, like slights can break chain of memories.
Yeah,
You can
or picking
break-
the staff in Kingdom Hearts 1 because magic is based on your magic.
Based on the pips in the bar, yeah.
Yeah.
You can break
Kingdom
getting
Hearts
to
2,
areas that you're not supposed to be at yet based on summons.
Yeah.
Like if you use Dumbo in Halabastion
yeah.
to get to areas that you're not supposed to be yet, and just skip parts of the gameplay.
Or Birth by Sleep, just using the command Mega Flare, which just nuke pretty much every enemy on screen that's not immune to fire.
In both Birth by Sleep and Read Chain of Memories as well.
Yeah, but at least with Rechain of Memory, there's a lot of stuff you got to do to get it. For Mega Flare, you can get very early on in Birth by Sleep, and that's not even getting started on the balloon spell from Dream Drop Gifted, which utterly which utterly destroy the game in terms
Now-
of balance.
One thing that is very tedious with gameplay is trying to get all the material for synthesizing to get
Which-
the most powerful weapons in the game, but that's supposed to be a grind.
Synthesis
Yeah,
being
yeah.
the term for crafting in the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Okay.
only the main numbered gear, the games with that are numbered have synthesis and a thing to them. Only
To
1,
bring
2,
back
3.
the Yeah, and to bring back the Tron world for a quick thing, this is right here is part of the reason why I like this world, because they had the cojones to actually to go all out and actually do a section with the light cycle.
Yeah, whole mini game of it.
Yep.
All right. This is going to be a general question because it's kind of subjective to what you like about the story, since some of you actually do like the story and can follow it, can pay attention. So, what was the level of answers? Because there's a lot of things going on in this game or this series that it doesn't really answer too many of these mysteries or questions. Should the games, as is, maybe going forward with the next one, answer a lot of questions, or should they keep the mystery going with the main villains and the main characters? Like, is this enough information to keep you interested, or are you just like, oh, here we go, another Kingdom Hearts games, all kinds of reveals that change everything all over again? Like, what's the general idea from these games to reveal mysteries?
They generally do a pretty good job at like taking each mystery that the last game introduced and playing off them.
Yeah, like with Union Cross, we're finally supposed to start getting answers of
Yeah.
who the foretellers are, how they play into the story, who the Master of Masters is. But that was set up in the mobile game, kind of hinted at as being a major role in Kingdom Hearts 3, and then 3 is the capstone of every game prior, which is the Xehanort Saga.
Yeah.
I would say
And-
I would say in terms of lore, the best comparison you can make to the original Keyblade War, I would say it's the Kingdom Hearts equivalent of, I would say, the Battle of Rusan in Star Wars. Basically that same idea.
Yeah, and
Ultimate-
the,
and
the story, the game and the story do well of answering the mysteries. Like, we understand that stars are going out in the first game, and it turns out that the stars are actually worlds that are being put to sleep in darkness come Dream Drop Distance.
that all the worlds share one sky and one destiny, more or less.
Yeah. So
Because they all used to be one world, and then they all got separated into a bunch of different worlds. I believe as a result of the Keyblade War, but
Yeah, that was part of it.
that was one factor. The other was the breaking of the Keyblade, the one with the X, not spelled with like a key for a house.
Yeah, that specifically is a bit confusing
yeah.
if you don't specify.
Some people pronounce it Kai, but the meaning's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's darkness separating the worlds, and that's why the night sky looks the way it does in the game, as per the lore.
Yeah, but ultimately, like, pretty much, the games are pretty good at answering questions brought up by other games, but still providing new questions to keep you guessing but interested. Pretty much, they like to set up for new things. They'll bring up a bunch of questions, they'll answer a few of them, keep them for the next game.
Like, if you beat the game on proud mode, you'll get a secret ending, and that ending may be answered in the next game or 2 games later.
usually for those secret endings, you gotta go. There's a lot of hoops you gotta jump through.
But there's
They
but
each-
almost every time those secret endings do eventually get payoff.
Yeah. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 2 here had a lot of payoff from Kingdom Hearts 1 secret ending. Plural because the final mix version of 1 and 2 had 2 secret endings instead of just 1.
Yeah,
And they both play into this game, don't they?
Yeah.
Sort of. The second ending with Roxas from the first game sets up 358 Days.
Which came
Well,
out what 7 years later.
Yeah.
But
So
like
it will answer the questions and keep you invested in the story of if you want those mysteries to be answered. It just you had to be patient.
Yeah. And there are some times where plot points you didn't even think of being important from way earlier games suddenly became more important after a certain point later. Like at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, in the end of the world, there's this big machine where you're getting a big expedition dump about Kingdom Hearts itself. That machine actually comes into play. Actually, ended up being revealed to be a big thing in both Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, the mobile game, and Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory.
Yep.
Yeah. And one thing that was answered actually in Union Cross was how Maleficent is alive in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 is because whenever she was
Episode of
defeated,
Bardock Logic.
yeah, she was sent back in time. And then she made her way back to the future using the pods from the data world.
Yeah.
All right.
I could have sworn Smud blue screen there from all that exposition.
I was like, wow, I can't follow all this when I'm trying to make sense of it all.
It's a little easier to follow it fun if you're actually playing the game.
If you're actually experiencing the games in release order, which I've been doing it so far, I have not had any issues understanding.
Okay.
And I mean that.
All right. Well, let's talk about the community then, because what I've read online is kind of hard to follow because there's a lot of opinions about what's going on. Like, not everyone enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 because it's different, and it had a lot of debate I've read on Reddit and other places that people loved the gameplay and the story, while others said it was a detraction or lacking thereof. But what were the elements of Kingdom Hearts 3 that you thought were like either good or bad, or people could see as bad? Because it seems to be like not everyone likes the gameplay, not everyone liked the ending, not everyone liked the story. So what's the controversial stuff in Kingdom Hearts 3 that caused fans to go weird?
The ending. Literally just the ending revelation about Master Dane or the big bad.
Mainly.
Yeah, and that was even a mistranslation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because he was doing it to, in English, bring balance to the worlds and reset everything as a blank slate, where in the Japanese he wanted to eradicate the worlds as they were and do a completely new world from scratch.
Yeah.
So like basically the American translation made him come off a bit more like Thanos, if that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I will say, even with the way the English version did it, there are things that were already established in the theory, and then later on with Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, that could give more credence to why Xehanort's mindset ultimately is as warped as it is. Because more or less in the series, it's been shown since day one that darkness is a very corrupting thing. And it takes a really strong heart to be able to command it,
Yeah,
let alone not fall under its influence.
So
and oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask the next question, but if you want to keep going, that's fine.
One thing that I do want to say is a bad choice is holding off on the true ending of Kingdom Hearts 3 as a paid DLC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that could have easily been within the game. And the fact that you had to pay, what was it, $60 for the game, for the base game, and then you got the DLC coming out 6 months later.
For like $30 if you got, I think it was like $30 if you wanted the normal version, $40 if you wanted the version that also had the orchestra on it.
Yeah.
Which I'll be honest, that's the one I bought. And you may be thinking, why would you buy a DLC with the orchestra on it? Because that orchestra had plot details in it. That is one thing people like to complain about with the story, is the fact that so many different things that aren't in the games themselves are actually canon to the series.
Yep.
Like the previously mentioned orchestra, and more recently, a Kingdom Hearts hotel room.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before.
Yeah, it takes a lot of looking into to find all the lore aspects of the games and finding
Yeah.
the
This is why a lot of
mysteries that are actually answered that aren't within the game.
Yeah. This is why a lot of people make jokes about Sora being in Smash Bros. Means Smash Brothers in canon to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. Also, the balances of the DLC fixing a lot of the gameplay issues.
Yeah. Although some of those things were actually introduced in the update before the DLC, which was like, it was an update released like a month before the DLC came out.
Yeah.
And they were definitely good additions.
With all my functions up and running, I think I've got a chance of getting system control.
So in regards to the ending with Sora, people see that as like the bittersweet sacrifice, that he did all this effort to stop the Heartless Lich character?
Stop Xehanort.
Stop Master Xehanort from
And all at
unleashing
the
the
same
power of
time,
Kingdom Hearts.
and at the same time, part of the whole thing with the ending of him essentially dying is because he strained himself so much trying to save everyone else.
Yeah, he overused the power of waking to save all his friends,
Which,
especially Kairi, which it came with the cost that
He's my enemy too.
more or less he's being banished from the.
Ansem took Encom's
He's more or less
original
banished from this universe,
customized it
more or
for
less.
Which is why I say he basically died.
So
Yeah,
is
pretty
it
much.
is it like a triumphant solution and like resolution to the story or storylines, or is this like a
In general, it is a satisfactory resolution. It is a triumph
Yeah.
over all the evil that's been lurking in the series up to that point. But it
But it
only
still comes at a cost.
it comes at a cost. It gets turned on its head right at the very last shot of that ending. It
Yeah.
changes the circumstances behind that entire effort that Sora put into saving everyone and defeating the villain.
Yeah, and that's why the next game, the rhythm game spin-off, Melody of Memory, is continuing off what Remind showed off in it thing, specifically in the data organization part.
Any data you
They're-
need from the DT
Pretty much they spent after that they spend a year trying to figure out where Sora ended up. And Melody of Memory answered that question and start setting up for Kingdom Hearts 4, which, hadn't been announced.
And presumably is gonna have Star Wars in it, because one of the trailers had like a quick couple seconds shot of a forest with what is presumably an ATSD foot.
Yeah.
yeah, and the
You too. And give my
I
best to the
totally lost where my train of thought was.
Was it for Kingdom Hearts 4 or 3?
It was for
And
how things played out, and how it was explaining what the power of waking is
Yeah.
that the power of waking is the ability to
Ron, hang in there.
wake the slumbering hearts of those that
Where do we start?
I know.
uh have fallen to darkness, kind of how in 3 we get Roxas's heart
So don't worry.
Roxas's heart reawakened, Ventus's heart reawakened, and the power of waking allows you to go
Sora.
into the end of the world if you use it too much, and then reset
That's
where the issue was. But if you overuse that, like Sora did,
that
you
did it.
pretty much vanish from reality.
Yep.
I have to go into town.
And
Need to
They
see
take
what
where
the
Kingdom-
shakeup did.
and Kingdom Hearts 4 is pretty much getting up off
Wasn't
that
exactly
because
easy to get.
I'm coming right back.
where he ended up is
Hey, Sora,
pretty much described
why
as
don't you start
unreality,
downloading the
more or
data
less.
and copying it down?
And it's also playing off a
Just a
plot
few
point
keystrokes.
from Union Cross
Easy, right?
with another character who went missing, presumably killed, called Starletia, who is the sister of Lorium, who is the somebody of the nobody Marluxia from Organization 13. And pretty much it's looking like we're gonna learn like what happened to her and stuff like that.
Yeah, because all we know from Union Cross is that she was killed by Ventus.
A Pedette Ventus.
All right. So the next question is last one. I would say we have one more if I want to keep going. But the original love of the game was that it had so many IPs from Disney. It was doing so many things with Squaresoft or Squaresoft Enix to connect so much IP together that's kind of like the initial appeal. And some people believe after all this, because Kingdom Hearts is its own thing, that it's changed I guess you could say the initial magic of those Disney films or those Square Enix games. But does that change your interest? Because obviously as a fan who knows the series, you want to know what happens next. You care about the characters as they are in the story. But would that impact, let's say, a new player coming into the series saying, would they want to, or would they like to play Kingdom Hearts 4, knowing that all the characters from, let's say, I don't know, Beauty and the Beast or Tron or any other series are completely different now that they're in this world?
Who's this guy?
Well, I
Um,
see you got things working.
Oh, Your Majesty.
I think that the Disney worlds that come about
Good, go on.
have relevance to the story that is being told, kind of like the worlds themselves are a microcosm of the larger story at hand. And we have, Nomura has pointed out that fans have told him that, hey, what happened to this being a Final Fantasy / Disney story
crossover.
crossover, and he's come out and said that though he would like to add more, and he probably will add more Final Fantasy elements, that Disney is the core for telling the micro stories, and the Kingdom Hearts characters, since there are so many to juggle now, they will get more of the limelight than the Final Fantasy characters.
Which, it makes sense. But I do understand why people are, disappointed that over time the Final Fantasy characters just started being more and more irrelevant.
Yeah, and
So where they didn't even show up in base game Kingdom Hearts 3, and they only showed up in the DLC.
yeah, and then in Melody of Memory they showed up again.
Yeah, but mainly in 3 it was just the DLC as an acknowledgement that it was a massive exclusion from the base game that really shouldn't have happened ultimately, but it couldn't be helped.
Yeah.
But with the Disney characters, there will be some that fade off into completing their own stories off screen, because their role within the games themselves have been completed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
which is why a lot of the time with a lot of these worlds, it's basically just. I don't know if this sounds it's gonna sound a bit harsh. Like it's just retreading their original films. Like in Kingdom Hearts 1, it was, as an example, Tarzan, Deep Jungle, which is Tarzan. That was basically just a rundown of the second half of the movie.
Yeah. But even then, it still had unique things about it that tied into the overall plot.
Yeah.
Where Arendelle, which is the frozen
Arendelle
world,
and 3
As
is
opposed to
literally just the movie.
a copy paste. It's just a copy paste job to the point where it should not be understated. To the point where they literally copy paste Let It Go into the game, and
Yeah.
just Sora and friends just watching from a distance. That's it.
Yeah.
And even to the point, especially if you YouTube search a full playlist of the game's soundtrack, the Let It Go in the soundtrack, is just the original upload of the song from 2013 in the soundtrack, just sandwiched in there.
Yeah, and I know Nomura wanted Frozen in there because he liked the movie, but I think that Disney 3 is where Disney had the most stranglehold on the series.
And I'm just like, I specifically remember at one point when, I mean, we can say all we want about MatPat, but hear me out for a second. He did a game theory on the Kingdom Hearts 3 Arendelle, and was one of the first people to deduce, like, maybe this was actually, like, the boss of Arendelle was probably supposed to be someone else. Because the way that micro story plays out, you would expect that it to be Elsa because of how the movie plays out, but no.
Yeah, the boss of the word soul, which is the wicked awesome No Wolf Heartless that pulled out freaking Revenge Death Bomb that Marshmallow pulled a Piccolo on.
Yeah, which it's like they ended up relegating that boss to having come from Hans, who anyone that knows anything about the movie is like he was already a problem in the movie to begin with.
Yeah, being a twist villain that just doesn't freaking work.
Just doesn't work, exactly.
Yeah. And but at least in the actual movie, Hans had some screen time. In the game, he just shows up out of nowhere.
They didn't even get his actor back. He just does. You don't even see his face.
Yeah. Well, you do, but
like barely.
Yeah.
Like Disney definitely was looking over Nomura's shoulder the whole time. It's like, okay, you want Frozen in your game, then we're gonna make sure we have it in there the way we want it.
Yeah.
And that hurt it a lot. For me personally, that technically makes it the worst world in the entire series.
Yeah. And that's not even including its other issues, like everything looking the same, making navigating the world a pain in the butt.
As well as Sora and friends only barely interacting with the characters from the movie.
Yeah.
Next to nothing.
Yeah, and that's another problem because in the middle of the world, Lark Dean make you have a detour into an ice castle that's not the one Ultimate.
An ice dungeon.
And pretty much the rest of the movie, the middle part of the movie's happening without you. And yeah. So whereas like back in the old days, they definitely tried to, like, even in Kingdom Hearts 3, which had the most problem of repeat the movie I did, at least they're still examples where they at least tried to make the world tie into the bigger story.
Yeah, like Big Hero 6 isn't based on the movie, it's based after the movie.
I was about to say, like, in that case, it's a sequel to the movie.
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. is a continuation of the movies.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, interquel, because we actually did, we actually got like a kinda sequel to the movie, Monsters at Work.
True.
Yeah, we're not counting that.
Yeah, I know.
The Toy Story world was actually specifically stated to take place between Toy Story 1 and 2
Which makes sense.
And the team that made Toy Story actually flat out said, "Yeah, we consider Kingdom Hearts 3 canon to the Toy Story theory."
Yeah, a bit of a tongue-in-cheek nod to how Kingdom Hearts' canon can definitely reach sometimes, but it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
All right,
And then
we got almost done here. I got one more bonus questions because we're under 1 hour, so why not? This is a very specific question you guys might be able to answer if you know your lore. This is regards to either Roxas or Saurus, who I think they're the only ones that wield the Keyblades, as far as I know.
Oh, there's a lot.
Well,
No.
as a player that you can control, right?
Still no.
Really? So Donald can wield the Keyblade?
There's plenty of not the Disney characters, but there's Mickey's the only one. Mickey is the only one outside of the main Kingdom Hearts characters that can wield the Keyblade.
he's
That
the
you
only
can play
Disney
as.
character that can wield the key.
That you can play as, right?
Only
Oh wait, hold on. Here's the best line in the game.
is it really?
One of them. Okay, anyway.
It's
Oh.
just weird that they acknowledge Sephiroth like that.
Yeah. But anyway,
I know.
the,
It's like-
the first game made a big deal about Dora being the Keyblade chosen one and acting like he's the only one.
He said he's got
But
Which
even
at
in the
the-
first
which-
game, they're
which-
like, nope, there's
which-
more than one
Oh,
Keyblade connected.
at the end, for the vast majority of the experience, it is stated that Sora is basically the only one, at least on hand.
Yeah.
That last bit of light is
But-
always the hardest
But
to snuff out.
ultimately, Sora is not the only one who can wield the Keyblade. In fact, way before the event of Kingdom Hearts 1, there were many. In fact, that's what the whole Keyblade War thing is. Because Kingdom Hearts Union Cross takes place during the day before and after the first Keyblade War, with your own custom character that you make being the playable character.
Right. What I was trying to get at, it was the Keyblades you guys actually use and know of through the players you play as. Which ones would you like to see as a return in Kingdom Hearts 4? Because the Keyblades are a big part of the story and gameplay. Was there a particular one that you thought this was really useful, this is broken, this fixes everything, or this makes the game a lot better?
Well, that's the thing. Keyblade kind of... Every game has their own unique Keyblade, and the only time they repeat Keyblade is like if they're retreading Kingdom Hearts 1 in some way, or they just need a design and they just need another design and stuff, because every game outside of actually they have unique Keyblade. Every game outside of Chain of Memory and Recoded had a unique Keyblade based on each world, and some that are based on other things, depending on what you have to do for them.
Yeah, the one that I would like to see come back, though, to answer that question, though, because we've only gotten it, I think, in the first game, is the Chocobo Keyblade.
The metal Chocobo?
Yeah, the metal Chocobo.
Yeah, that one.
Because that one has the reach that I like for gameplay, and it also has the chance of critting more than once.
I mean, and obviously we've got the series staple right here.
Yeah, but even then, the Ultima weapon, the design for it changes in every game, except for the one that, again, retread the world of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah.
But even with worlds that repeat in several games, they get a unique Keyblade every time they reappear, more or less. because like Olympic Coliseum or just Olympic in 3, pretty much the Hercules world had pretty much appeared in every single game in the series. And every time they did it in a new game that didn't retread Kingdom Hearts 1 world idea, it had a unique Keyblade with the same general idea behind it, but it was still a unique one all the same.
All right.
Yeah,
And
That was all I really wanted to ask, unless you guys have other answers.
ultimately, there's like there are a few I would like to see, but I'm kind of basic. It's pretty much just the Kingdom Key. If it's Dora, the Kingdom Key always comes back, and that's a default Keyblade game. But Oathkeeper and Oblivion are just the big staples that everybody loves, and so do I. Especially in instances where you get to dual wield them.
Yeah, and the only time that you really get to dual wield them is as Roxas.
Well, at Rocket in the beginning of 2, and at the end of Days, or if you're playing mission mode and have a specific gear. And Sora if he's using any of the dual wielding drive forms. And Kingdom Hearts 3 if you unlock Oathkeeper or Oblivion and can use it form change. But doing that in Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bit of a task, because to unlock Oathkeeper you have to find all 99 lucky emblems in the game and take a picture of them. And getting Oblivion, you have to beat the game on critical mode. And yeah, that is quite the ordeal, which I have done myself, and it is a pain. But it's worth it, because in Kingdom Hearts 3, Oathkeeper and Oblivion actually rival that game's Ultima weapon for best Keyblade in the game. And speaking of Kingdom Hearts 3, if there's one thing I do want related to Keyblade to come back, it's definitely the Keyblade upgrade system that 3 introduced. That way, all the Keyblades in the game can still be useful into the end game. Because that's always been a big problem with the series, is that that Keyblade from the early game will not be useful in the end game. Whereas Kingdom Hearts 3, with that upgrade system, even the Kingdom Key is still a very viable choice at the end of the game, because it's not getting horribly overshadowed in terms of stats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've noticed games recently do that as well, that the first weapon not the first weapon, but maybe the first few weapons you have at level 2 or 3, I'm playing Unicorn Overlord, those weapons and armor you can use, and they're still useful near the end stages of the game, which I thought is great, because you're then juggling a good inventory for a good reason, as opposed to just selling everything and getting rid of all your old stuff to get the new stuff. I always like that use.
The thing with Keyblades in the Kingdom Hearts series is that you have them permanently, and they don't take up any inventory space. You just unlock them and you have them. But in Kingdom Hearts 2, at least in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3, they have a little bit of an extra thing to them, to where each Keyblade actually had special abilities tied to them that give you special properties. For example, the one that Ginga's using right now, the Fenrir, it has the ability negative combo, which make your combo go down by 1. Which, if you tie it with the same ability, you just instantly make your combo do finisher.
As I showed right there against the hardest boss in the entire game.
Yeah. that is actually a legitimate strategy for this boss. To cheat it with that short hop finishing attack. Because in Kingdom Hearts 2, and I think other Kingdom Hearts games, but mainly the one with the flashier combos like this one, all enemies, especially bosses, have what is called a revenge value, and pretty much when you're doing attack against the enemy, once they hit that threshold, that point, a certain amount of points or whatever in the value, the boss will instantly react and get out of being comboed. There are a few ways you can get around them, but it's not that many.
All right. Well, that's all the extra questions I have. I'm going to read some super chats, and we're just getting over the 1 hour mark. That's pretty good for a Smudcast or a Smud chat that deals with just one topic on some questions I thought might be useful. Unless you guys want to talk about something specific, that's up to you. And share your opinions on the series and why you like it. That's always a good idea.
I mean, I really like the series. I think I have spent over $1,030 on the series as a whole.
Every single release of every single game.
There is a reason why my username is Keyblade Overlord. It's because of this series.
And there's a reason why all these collections, putting multiple games together in a single disc or whatever, has been done to avoid Cyric's situation of spending so much on every single release of every game.
I mean, I did that. And I bought them when they came out, but I specifically bought my PS4 so I could get the story so far.
Which is a compilation of basically every game. It doesn't include except for 3 in the lead up to 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the big collection that put the 1.5 plus 2.5 and the 2.8 collection together in one package.
Yep.
The all-in-one package include Kingdom Hearts 3 in there.
Yeah, which was after.
Yeah, but like I am such a big fan of the series. I literally gave myself the name Keyblade Overlord because Overlord is one of my favorite words. Thanks mainly to the Metal Overlord final boss of Sonic Heroes.
Fair enough.
But also because the Keyblade is just my favorite weapon in video games. Period. Like,
and to think this entire series started from 2 executives, one from Square and one from Disney, doing a literal
elevator pitch.
And that's how this whole series started, all the way back in, I think at like the very early 2000s, if not the tail end of the 90s, was it?
2002.
No. When that pitch happened.
I don't remember when the pitch happened, but yeah.
Probably between 99 and 2000, probably.
I am still very upset we did not get that animated series, especially after that pilot animatic leaked. Cause it looked so good. I would kill to have a Kingdom Hearts show.
Not to mention the fact that Treasure Planet was slated for the series 4 times, and it got rejected every single time.
Yeah, the most we get is the Treasure Sphere in Kingdom Hearts 3.
If anything.
During the gummy shoot. Yeah.
But this series definitely the Final Fantasy stuff is more iffy depending on the game, but at least this game does definitely pay a lot of respects to a lot of Disney's history, whether it's a world, a Keyblade for Sora and company you use, the summons, which are also a mechanic in this game where you can put more characters in, to the point where Bahamut was originally going to be a summon in 1, but he got cut.
Yeah. I love this series so much. I actually have a small collection of actual Keyblades that are just sitting against my wall right now. I think I have 8 of them right now. One of them cost me over $200, and that happened to be no name.
It's just so unfortunate with the company Disney's become in recent years. But we can at least look back on things like Kingdom Hearts and everything represented in it for those fond memories. And Kingdom Hearts is definitely, out of everything they've done in the past decade or so, like Kingdom Hearts has still been the best thing to come out of Disney.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts is the one thing they haven't fully yet, and I pray to God they don't.
I don't think so. I don't think so
Yeah.
because Square and Nomura definitely have a lot of say in that as well.
Yeah.
The worst it's
Yeah.
gotten was Arendelle with Frozen just being a copy paste job of Frozen. But other than that,
Yeah.
a lot of what the series has done has been very spot on.
Yeah. Just great fun. Well worth the time to. They're well worth the time to play, and they're very addicting. Like I have marathoned at least the first 3 games in the series, which are 1, Rechain of Memory, and 2, at least in terms of story. I've marathoned those 3 at least like 2 or 3 times. And I have actually platinum trophied Kingdom Hearts 1, and I'm almost there with Rechain of Memory, but the last achievement requiring me to get to level 99 with Riku. And that is a slog. But
yeah,
it just showed how much I love this series. Like, I am willing to go to those lengths so I could enjoy every aspect of the game. Even when I get frustrated with them, I still have fun.
Same here.
And like, I pretty much have an itch to replay the game constantly. Like, to the point where I at least want to, like, some people have a game they always want to replay at least once per year. Here.
In my case, it's Arkham.
Yeah. In my case, it would be like one of the I have several. Well, Sonic Adventure 2. Paper Mario 64 and Paper Mario The 1,000-Year Door, which kind of alternate. But the Kingdom Hearts game, especially at least 1 and 2, I definitely have that itch to replay at least 1 per year.
Yeah, in terms of the series as a whole, the series has never really had that much of a dud, if we're being honest. It's a lot of it has been home runs.
Even in its weakest games, there's things about them that are still enjoyable. Like Rechain of Memory, the Chain of Memory. A lot of people don't like the gameplay of it because of how the card system required you to need to think a whole lot more about how to do things. But the story is great to where the story of Chain of Memory is really good to where you kind of just get past that and want to learn it to better do it. And then Recoded, which is seen as the worst game to pretty much everyone in the series. Even
that was able to establish key plot points that the next 2 games after it were able to build off of and pay off to some extent.
Well, yeah, but that's kind of different from what I'm going to say, because many people agree Recoded is the worst game in the series, mainly with the story. But the actual gameplay they find pretty good because it's like Birth by Sleep gameplay, but with a few of Dave's quirky things about it.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
Ultimately, every game is like a pretty good experience. There will be things that ultimately you're not gonna like it much, but it still feels worth it in the end at some point.
Yeah. So we get Cyrus, what are your final thoughts here?
Like, I understand that the series isn't for everyone. The story can be confusing, especially with certain retcons. And then we thought the Ansem journals would be more impactful of the story. It gives a good base, but are contradicted later on in certain aspects.
Yeah, more or less any Anthem, Daynor report, pretty much any report that happened in the game that like further expand on background elements and stuff. Ultimately, some of them don't really matter in the end, and there are others that really tie things together.
And there are definitely games out there that do the concept of the reports a bit better, at least a bit better. I would say, in terms of supplementary information, I would say the Arkham series is a bit better with that, because obviously we have the interview tapes from like whether it's the Asylum, Arkham City, even as late as Arkham Knights. Like, you have to go through the Riddler to get it all, but in terms of the actual information it gives you, when you put it all together, it is very consistent compared to Kingdom Hearts, where it's still good. It still gives you a lot of information. It's just a matter of like Cyrix said, the retcons that come in later that can fumble things a bit.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I don't mind
not all-
retcons like the Nobodies. I don't mind retcons like the Unversed, because darkness has always been a thing. It's just the Heartless are built on from the Unversed as these amalgamations of hearts mixed with the Unversed, which is considered a retcon. But that's because Ansem was doing experiments on the Unversed and the hearts of people.
Yeah. Which ultimately brings about the emblem Heartless.
Yeah.
Which, because emblem Heartless are not natural, whereas there are natural Heartless.
Shadows are natural.
Shadow, Dark Ball, and later on in 3, the very core type Heartless.
Yeah.
Those are all purebred Heartless.
Yeah.
That are specifically born of darkness.
But I don't have an issue with the Nobodies. I don't have an issue with the Unversed. I don't have an issue with Dream Eaters, even though Dream Eaters taking care of them is like Tamagotchi on steroids.
Basically. As well as
they're better at the story thing than a gameplay thing, but I still find them fun, but it's like they require a lot of effort, considering the fact that, like Tyrant did, it pretty much Tamagotchi on steroids.
Yeah, needless to say, this franchise can definitely, when everything is said and done, when everything's put together, it can definitely contend with with not the biggest franchises in gaming, but definitely it can hold its own.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
There's stumbles here and there, but ultimately the final product up to 3, that entire saga, is relatively solid at the very least.
Yeah, it's beloved for a reason, not just because people grew up with it, but because people have come back to it, and people who have never played it before have started playing it, since now you have the collections, and they're realizing just why people enjoy the series.
Hello.
Yeah, you have the collection, and Dream Drop Distance and Kingdom Hearts 3 also took the time to make sure they included like summary of the games that came before them. So at least for the people that decided to pull the stupid move of start with the latest game in the franchise, they'd at least have some context of things that happened before.
Which tends to be a rather common thing more recently, because the normies tend to look at the recent thing or the popular thing and just go from there, instead of doing their due diligence and going from the beginning, like I've been doing for the past few months.
Yeah. This is why Angry Joe kind of got on Kingdom Hearts fans' bad side, because he had.
Let me guess. He started with 3.
Yeah, he had that same mindset and threw a fit about the Kingdom Hearts fan base just suggesting that he play the games in order, so he could better understand.
Especially at a point where they are readily available at this point. Especially now when they're all on PC, albeit on Epic, which Just put them on Steam already.
Yeah, please just put them on Steam. I will gladly buy them again. And
Yeah, and even then, as it stands, the series, to go back to the series itself, like Keyblade said with Dream Drop and 3, the series itself did its best to do its due diligence and keep people up to speed, even with people starting in later installments, like I did, because I started in 2.
heck, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, it pretty much just recapped the entire series so far, but as a rhythm game.
Yeah, which is at least an unique idea, to be sure, and it also provides hints for the future of the series in 4, which we can only hope ends up being, at least, at the absolute worst, as good as the rest of the series.
I still laugh at the fact that Melody of Memory, at least in the English language, they don't, because of when it was released, they do not refer to the Kingdom of Corona by that name. They just have Kairi call it a fairy tale kingdom.
Yeah, because we were in COVID at the time.
Yeah.
But I think
that's only in the English. That's only in the English version, and when you're playing the song of that world in the actual game, the world is still called Kingdom of Corona. They just
I can give credit to Square. Yeah, go ahead.
They just don't have Kairi call it by name.
Yeah, we can at least give credit to Square for not going back and changing the name of that world during the pandemic. It's like, good on them for sticking to it.
I mean, remember, there's a beer called Corona.
As well, yeah. But yeah, I think we can probably end it with saying that Kingdom Hearts is definitely a franchise that should be experienced by those who are willing to put up with, well, first of all, get into the concept of the way it uses the light versus dark trope, I would say, and definitely also how it integrates the Disney stuff and to an extent the Final Fantasy stuff. But if for those watching that have not played the series yet, play it in release order.
Yeah,
we implore you to do it that way. Yes.
Yeah. Literally, they pretty much do that. Play it in release order. It'll save you a lot of headache going forward.
Yeah, whether on PlayStation, Xbox, or even on PC through Epic, which I don't condone, but still it's an option. Play the games in order. The entire series is readily available at this point. Just do your due diligence and play it the way it was released, and then there might still be confusion at certain things, certain retcons and stuff, but you'll have everything handed to you. You have all the information given to you, so that you can at least make the attempt to piece everything together. But the games will tell you basically everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
if you have questions, there are plenty of YouTube videos by passionate Kingdom Hearts YouTubers that go into the series. Like one of them that off the top of my head who really deep dived into like the more complex story part is HMK.
Yeah.
Big Zelda and Kingdom Hearts fan, and he pretty much goes big into looking into the lore of the series.
That's definitely the advantage of the content creation stuff that passionate fans like that, whether it be through through YouTube, through videos like HMK did, or through wikis and stuff. Yeah. People have gone out of their way to bring all this stuff together because of the I would call it misconception of the series being complicated. There is a little bit of truth to that, but just experience the whole series all the way through, and especially in release order, the way it was given to us.
All right. I think we've gone over this a lot, and I'm glad you guys got to talk about one of your favorite series of all times. And I mean,
I would say,
learned a little bit about the series that I didn't know. I thought it was a lot more confusing than others thought, but no, apparently not. That's good to know.
Which to be honest,
confusing.
Explaining, but exactly. But when but like we've been saying, for anyone that takes time out of their day to get all of the games and play them in release order and take in the information as it came out for everyone, you can slowly but surely piece everything together so that that confusion can at least be minimized, and so you can understand most of what's going on at the very least.
And then the stuff that you don't understand, that's easily what the Kingdom Hearts wiki.
That's what the internet is for.
Or the big old Kingdom Hearts compendium that YouTuber Regular Pat made that pretty much goes through like practically everything in the series, including like looking up like when certain lines were said in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, with all that said, if you haven't played the Kingdom Hearts series, there's ways to play it. Just go out there, get as many of the games as you can, and just play it. Just play the series. It still holds up. All of it still holds up to this day, and we can at least hope that Kingdom Hearts 4 continues the high bar of quality.
Yeah, and hopefully Square will actually release an actual Switch port, not cloud.
Yeah, yep, not cloud version, no. But we can finish with that. Just go out and play.
Yeah.
Just go out and play the games,
All right.
or at least do
Experience-
research.
Okay.
Experience it for yourself.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to read the 2 super chats from Vladimir, and then we'll call it a day. Vladimir Dragunov, thank you, sir. Remember that if dolphins were people, they wouldn't be allowed within 1,000 yards of a school zone.
What?
Okay.
That little bit of Smudcast randomness that pops up every so often.
I don't know what you're implying there about dolphins, but okay, I guess.
I know very much what they're implying about dolphins.
But that's a discussion for another day.
Okay, and the
That's
second
a discussion to not have.
The second
moving on.
super chat is Metal Gear is an overly complex lore contest, and the competitor is Kingdom Hearts.
I would say Metal Gear does fall more in line with the conception of being too complicated, more than Kingdom Hearts is. But again, that's another case where just play the games. Just play them in the order we got them, and you can understand everything. But again, that's a whole other thing. Point is, Kingdom Hearts still holds up to this day. Just go out and play it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. That was a pretty relaxing Friday. It's a good Friday, so I hope everyone's on vacation today. I hope no one was at work. That would be kind of sad, but
Some on vacation, others at work. It's a toss-up depending on the job. But yeah, whatever.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. It's been relaxing for me, and hopefully you too. And we will talk to you very soon. Have yourself a great evening, and good night.
And don't forget, Kingdom Hearts is light.
Yeah. Also enjoy your Eat Your Happy